So I'm fresh off of pregnancy and I had a great pregnancy. My husband was so great with cooking and making sure I was well fed. And before pregnancy, I would say that, he still cooked a little bit more than me because I was trying to get myself together with cooking. I in my life I was busy pursuing a professional degree, and so cooking wasn't at the forefront, though I did love to eat. However, getting married, I wanted to make sure I also prepared meals and did things of that nature for my husband as well. And so I was doing that. I took a cooking apprenticeship and got my culinary skills up. I was really doing it. And then I got pregnant, and it just wasn't ideal standing for so long of a time anymore. So I'll admit I got comfortable with my husband's cooking. I mean, it's just so good. And I got real comfortable. And it wasn't until after the baby, I can't remember what we were doing. Maybe we were in the grocery store, but I made some comment. I was like, oh, this would be so good for you to make. And he said, I want somebody to make meals for me too. And I felt bad. Because, yeah, I mean, he held me down during pregnancy, but it was time for me to get back up on my game, get back to stepping it up. So I decided it's February, and I mean, this is not just because it's February, but February is a very motivational rather time, so to speak. It's love month, and a lot of things are amped up around love and doing so. As a challenge for myself to help me get back in the groove, get back in the kitchen, I said, you know what? I'm going to commit to at least once a week getting back in the kitchen and making true meals for my husband because he deserves it. He was so good to me. And yes, it's time for me to get back in the kitchen game, get back in the game. And not only for me, but my kid is going to want real food at some point and we'll be off of this milk. So I really need to consider getting my skills back together. So I want you to journey with me as I do my challenge to myself for the month of February of getting in the kitchen and cooking meals. Now, my game plan is that I want to look up because my husband's always on Instagram and sending me things. So these people that he sends me recipes about, I'm going to try to do the recipe and try to recreate it for him and get his votes. I think it'd be cool. I'm going to cook it, and then I'm going to give him a post-it note. And I'm going to say, scale of 1 to 10, give me a rating. What you think? And he can slide it back to me. And I just hope to see where am I at. I mean, I don't want to put it on the creator of the recipe, but I'm gonna see what I can do. So you want to check out this journey for the month of February? Stay tuned. Okay, so my first meal is going to be a meal called Marry Me Chicken Soup. Marry Me Chicken Soup is what's it called, and I believe the Instagram creator is a person called Moody Foodie. The Moody Foodie sounds right. Her name's Tony. I got it. Her website is Tony's Recipes. So she has something called Marry Me Chicken Soup. Now I'm going to make it. I'm going to see what I can do. He sent me another reel of something else she created, but I saw this. It sounded good. He said it sounded good. He gave me his approval. And so I want to try it out. Now you're going to see clips of me cooking, and by no means was I being rusty or being lazy. Did not to a T follow some of Tony's recipes, and I forgot I didn't realize that the heavy cream it called for a quart. I got just the pint. I didn't realize it was a pint when I got it. I thought it was pretty big. I thought it was a quart, but there's a lot of deviation from the original recipe, and so it's no fault of Tony's. Anything that you see, this is all me, and any variations is a reflection of me. Don't come for Tony or anything like her recipe is off. It's gonna be all me if the recipe is off. But let's get into the video, and y'all can see what I create, and you can see what he ended up rating the dish as. Okay, first what you see is the bacon. Then there is chicken that needed to be made. Then we move to frying the chicken, letting it sizzle, do its thing. Not one, but two pieces of chicken for me. Though the recipe called for 3. You want to wait till 165 before the chicken is done. Then you'll get your garlic and your onions that we have here and prep that. Moving on, I forgot to get the sun-dried tomatoes, so I had some grape tomatoes that I'm using instead. So my little bootleg differentiation. There's the heavy cream that I got wrong. Then you stir it all together. That's all of that. Good looking yummy. Um, then I'm tasting it to see how it turned out after adding all the various spices that were listed in the recipe. So I tasted it and it was good, but something was missing. So I showed my husband the list of the spices and asked him, hey, what do you think needs to be added to this? And he was like, ooh, that slap your mama. Slap your mama. Add some more of that, and that should do the trick. So I'm like, okay, I trust him. Let's do it. So I added to the pot, and yes, of course, he's right. Chef's kiss. That was what was needed. I then added the rest of the ingredients, which involved potatoes, which you peeled and you diced them up. So that's me peeling and dicing. Added that to the pot. Did the chicken, and I started off, it calls for shredded. I started off doing just cutting it because I was being lazy. And then I was like, you know what? Let me do right. Let me do what the girl said to do in the recipe, which is shredded. So I looked up how to shred it. And yeah, you actually just use a fork. So I decided to do right and I shredded it. Then I was like, okay, we're going. But I felt bad because there's no veggies for real in her recipes, like the tomatoes, but I feel like some green was needed. So this is me doing my own thing. I added some spinach to it to try to make me feel better about adding more veggies. Then I added the basil to give the extra flavoring, the extra garnishing with it. So yes, that's green, but not spinach. Here is the finished product and the paper so my husband can rate what he thinks on a scale of 1 to 10. How did I do? Okay, here's the moment of truth. I'm telling him to taste it and rank it and give me his thoughts. So he takes his time getting it together. I'm twirling my thumbs while I'm waiting for him to give me his votes. All right, here we go. Oh. Turns out I forgot to add Parmesan. So he said, add this, and yeah, better. So an 8.5, I think that's pretty good for me to just be getting back in the game. I mean, he did have to help and, you know, add to it, so to speak. But, that's okay. Once again, I think an 8.5 is good. I'll take that for just not being in the game for months on end. And I take it. So stay tuned. You want to see next week the next thing that I'm going to create. And once again, we'll rate it. And hopefully, we can get a 9 out of him. I mean, I'm down for a 10 if he's ready for a 10. But we'll see what happens. Stay tuned.